Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Todd Richey, Managing Director for Client Advisory at Synoptek, and I'll be your host for this session. The goal of today's webinar is to talk through transforming IT from a cost center to a strategic asset. We'll keep things interactive, focused. We'll have a few poll questions, and then at the end, we do encourage you to share questions. So let's dive in. Before we dive in, I guess let me walk you through the agenda. We'll do a brief introduction of our key speakers, and then we'll cover the following topics with some tactics, strategies, and then a practical framework for enhancing those efficiencies. And then it's Q&A with some wrap up and time for questions. We'll keep this focused and efficient, and we appreciate your engagement throughout. Okay, as I said, my name's Todd Richey. I'm the Managing Director of Synoptek's Client Advisory Practice. As a leader, I serve as a strategic advisor to our clients navigating the complex intersection of operations technology, transformation, and organizational growth. I have over 25 years experience, and I work closely with the organizations to ensure their IT strategy is fully aligned to their business objectives and long-term goals, and I help empower them to achieve growth and success. I can honestly say helping organizations bridge the gap between technology and strategy is my passion and privilege to support our clients in their transformational journeys. Now, in addition to myself, we have a special guest joining us as well to discuss his journey and how he has navigated the various pressures faced with transformation. It's my pleasure to introduce Norman Racine, who is the Chief Information Officer at Sycamores, with over 2 decades of experience in IT leadership and a proven track record of driving innovation and strategic transformation. Norman has established himself as a visionary leader in the technology space, and throughout his career, he spearheaded several key initiatives aimed at aligning technology solutions with organizational goals, improving operational efficiencies, and then delivering results around that. So welcome, Norman.
Thank you, Todd. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So let's dive right in here. So the cost of inaction. So what if you don't do anything and just try to keep the lights on? We have captured 6 of the top pressures here that describe the challenges faced, and we'll talk through those in a minute in detail. But however, we hear from our clients that we work with that they're being pressured to deliver technology strategies that drive growth, which is difficult as each year just maintaining the status quo means escalating operational costs, irreversible market share loss, new risks that directly threaten margins. So financial leaders increasingly face budget pressures to deliver growth, but legacy systems stalled on modernization, outdated processes, make efficiency gains harder to realize and scale. So smaller teams, with those traditional IT models often spend more just to keep the lights on, missing out on like compounding returns from technology investments that drive shareholder value and long-term growth. And so with that in mind, we're going to launch a poll question to get you guys in active here. When evaluating IT investments in your organization, which outcome matters to you the most? And obviously, there's the all of the above question answer. All right. So take a minute and answer, and then we'll move forward. So the digital divide. I love this slide, this chart, because market research shows that we've seen in our experience with our clients that ongoing and widening disconnect between business priorities, IT leadership. Business leaders are focused on outcomes, growth, agility, customer experience, while often IT kind of remains anchored to legacy operating models, metrics that add costs and really don't translate into business impact. So, there's no poll question here, but just take a minute as we move forward and ask yourself, what is your assessment of the current state of your transformation? Is your business successfully leveraging technology to deliver your business outcomes? And kind of what's getting in the way? Where's the gap? Okay, and so things that we'll cover in the next few slides are going to review a proven approach to managing IT costs, and it gets you really thinking deep of your situation, your organizational challenges, and tactics that you're going to use. So we've developed it's an approach that's managing IT costs in 3 steps. So the question is, what can you actually do about all this to avoid the cost of inaction, really transform IT into a driver of value? We use a simple, proven 3-step framework that is a structured way to look at the current state, identify the right opportunities, and then plan for execution. And so let's kind of walk through what that looks like. As I said, what do you do about it? We have a framework that helps us look at this, and you can apply it to your business. We're going to outline throughout this presentation the basic approach, and then go into a little bit more detail. Here we analyze the current IT landscape. We discuss challenges such as siloed operations, budget constraints, lack of alignment with business goals. This sets the stage for why transformation is needed. We need to emphasize the strategic importance of IT and the expected outcomes to the business, such as agility, innovation, value delivery. And there are basically 3 steps. First, benchmark your current state. Identify your current spend, service levels with respect to what's just been discussed. Then understand where your desired future state is. And lastly, what's your risk tolerance and urgency to get there. Second, once you know where you are, you want to create a list of opportunities to give you relative score to them, right? We'll talk a bit how to do that later. And lastly, create a roadmap and plan, implement, and then execute on the strategy. So let's talk a little bit more about what those steps look like to break it out even further. Okay, so step 1. How do we baseline your environment? Although there's a lot here, we can actually do this with relatively light effort. First, we'd like to understand the company history, how you got to where you are now. That can be informative in understanding current technology landscape. We look at your org chart, get a sense of how you're organized. We typically look at asset inventory of infrastructure and applications, tech debt, things like that. Get an understanding of service levels. Sometimes, by the way, companies don't have, and organizations in IT don't really have service levels, which is completely fine. Sometimes we'll interview business stakeholders, even just to get a subjective view of how things are performing. Ultimately, we want to make sure that we understand the IT spend, how much is allocated towards innovation versus kind of keeping the lights on, ongoing support, and how that's delivering the service levels you need to be successful, to get folks back to work, making sure that they're efficient and effective. All right, step 2. Second step, start to identify opportunities, then prioritize them based on the impact to the business and time of ease of implementation. Get some quick wins. We generally look at 3 different areas: your people, labor, things like that, your software, hardware, vendor spend, and existing processes. On the people side, we definitely look at where the labor is being performed. It used to be that at like a large scale enterprise, we're looking at offshore and nearshore options for labor, but we find this now not to be a necessity even for mid enterprise firms. Interestingly, we see not only that lowers your cost structure, but actually can increase your service levels. First of all, you get better 24/7 follow the sun coverage. And in a lot of cases, you actually get higher skill set than that. We also look at utilization. A lot of times mid enterprise firms have to overpay for a function because it's the only need that the function, fractionally, but still has to pay for the full burden of the resource, right? And on the software side, having more volume and buying power tend to help bring costs down. Example, Broadcom buying VMware. This is where we also try to identify, shadow IT within the organization. This may be a marketing department buying SaaS applications and things like that to, certain parts of the organization, maybe spinning up VMs on some type of, private cloud, AWS, Azure. And on the process side, we look at ticket volumes to get an idea of how noisy uh, is how the level of noise in your environment. We typically want to see about one ticket per employee, and we also want to look at the stability of your environment on a monthly basis. So obviously, uh, more downtime you have, generally, the more costs you're incurring. So tickets are a good example of where the organization stands. We'll also look at opportunities for automating existing processes, simple stuff like password resets and all those things that are non-strategic, but also more involved things like automating new employee onboarding. The goal here is basically get a list of initiatives with tangible business improvements, right? That's the ultimate goal. Okay, and so step 3, lastly, um, list of priorities into an actionable plan and then executing on it, right? So present a transformation roadmap to the leadership, to your board, etc. Break down the journey into phases with timelines, milestones, provide guidance on prioritization and resource allocation. This kind of helps the stakeholders visualize the path forward, so it doesn't seem so far in advance that they can't meet that deadline. And part of what we do here is get very detailed on who's doing the work. One thing we've seen in a lot of mid-enterprise firms is resources shared between doing projects, doing the ongoing support, and what happens is a lot of projects tend to spin and delay, and people doing the work constantly being pulled into day-to-day support activities. So separating those resources is really key and important to basically have a call to action, right? So encourage stakeholder engagement to support these key initiatives and alignment with transformation goals. Reinforce the strategic importance of these of IT and the benefits of the journey, right? It's you're pitching it almost as a sales endeavor. This is where you also have a real plan and dealing with the tech debt you may already have. Sunsetting legacy infrastructure applications is key. And then we'll also look at your cloud migration and management activities. This is where you can also look in today's world, AI strategy and how to implement those, right? There's a lot to be said. Now, a lot of talking for me, apologies. But now to bring this topic to life, I wanted to include Norman with a powerful real world example of how information technology can evolve from a cost center into a true strategic business partner. And so I'm excited to hand it over to Norman Racine, CIO of Sycamores. He'll walk us through the next set of slides, share some inspiring insights, and highlight what's possible when IT is fully aligned with business strategy. So with that said, take it away, Norman.
All right. Thank you very much, Todd. I appreciate that. So good morning, everyone. I'm Sycamores was founded in 1920 in Highland Park, Los Angeles. And our mission, I'll read it out because it's an important mission, is to cultivate hope and resilience to enrich the well-being of children, adults, families, and communities. Broad statements, but a very important guiding light for us to ensure that we are keeping our eye on what is important at all times. I'm broadcasting today from the beautiful home, the original home, where Sycamores began in 1920. It's a stone and wood structure with majestic fireplaces, countless rooms. I'm on a 5-acre property that was originally housing orphans, and then later, as the decades passed, housing troubled youths. Today, this center is an administrative facility and with clinical drop-in centers. So we have consumers showing up at the facility throughout the day and into the evening. to receive counseling and assistance. Um, we last year we provided services to over 37,000 clients, and that was across 10 Southern California locations. So we're based in Southern California today. From those encounters, we generate hundreds of thousands of transactions and clinical notes every year. And we cover annual expenses well in excess of $70 million a year. As you can imagine, with that scale, 37,000, hundreds of thousands of transactions, $70 million, there is a need for a very robust technology platform. So, with the help of lots of people, I wanted to summarize this slide. There's a lot of numbers on this slide. And what it says is three basic things. We help a lot of people, and I'm happy about that. A large portion of those that we help are under the age of 18, and 89% of the services that we provide are funded through government plans. So that's what this slide basically says. And about 7 years ago, we had a small, well-meaning IT team. The team focused almost exclusively on day-to-day blocking and tackling or break fix of IT issues. Very little time was left to invest in actually helping the agency achieve its business plan. We were a cost center. IT, it's interesting. IT is perhaps the only profession where tenure is actually a bad thing. It means that you are not familiar with the new technologies and the new processes. And unless you have a very disciplined and awesome leadership, you will fall behind on the evolution of the technology. And what management decided to do back in 2017, 2018, is rather than invest our scarce senior management resources over a 1 to 2 year period of time, the decision was made to outsource IT to a well-qualified firm, a firm that was up on modern technologies. And the goal was to quickly modernize and free our management resources to focus on the core business. So that's what we decided to do. So call that stage one. So we're a cost center, we remain a cost center in stage one. And so we started the modernization push. As a result of the modernization push, we have reduced our, what I call aggravation factor. Todd calls it ticket volumes. He mentioned an average of one, which means one ticket per month per employee. So we started with well over one and quickly reduced it to one with the help of Synoptek. And then today we are comfortably in the 0.7 with several months, about 3 months a year, 4 months a year, where we achieve much lower numbers than that in the 0.55 range, which is a long-term internal target that we have. So those are some numbers. And in addition to that, our per FTE monthly IT services costs, so we measure all of that, is now stabilized at about $110 per FTE per month. It was well north of $150 before we started. So that's a big savings. Satisfaction surveys, very important. internal goal is north of 92%. We regularly achieve 95 to 98% satisfaction on that. And also, as a nice piece of information, Microsoft, we use Microsoft platform, so we're on the Office 365 environment. And in that environment, we get a security score. Go there every month and look at the security score and how are we doing. Well, I'm proud to say that we are in the very high 95% on the identity security score. Our data security score is close to 90, it's 89%. So, really solid results here, very, very solid results. And I can say that, we have effectively stabilized and the IT environment over the last few years. Just some numbers to go through very quickly. We, in the first 90 days of when we outsourced, we went from what would be called on a maturity model scale. And, Todd will go through that maturity model. We use it regularly. It's a very good model. Even if you developed your own, you would probably mimic what is on that slide. So that maturity, we went from a 0, maybe generously a 1, to a 2 within a very, very short period of time. And it is essentially a snapshot of your IT health. And so today we're firmly in level 3, and we're moving into level 4. We'll probably be there in about 18 months. Some of the, we have 640 employees, and when COVID hit, we were ready. Just as an example of, maturing your organization, we were ready for COVID. Folks were able to work remotely. We had the proper security and infrastructure associated with that to share data and systems, and so we were ready. I think that was a very positive thing. And last year in 2024, even with the delays and slowdowns and redirection that COVID brought along, we completed our cloud migration activity, and we celebrated it with plaques for all the people that were involved. And Todd, you've got your plaque there, right? So it was the final, for those of you who may be technical, the final step was eliminating the use of something called Active Directory. That is a big deal in the technology world. So with IT being handled, really, we've decided to transform ourselves. We've decided to rename, re-identify from IT to technology. So we've started our transformation now to become a strategic business partner. So we are working hand in glove with our business leaders, working to realize the business plan that have been established. So we were in stage 1, now we're in stage 2, and this is a transformation stage where, again, we become that strategic business partner. We have established a project management office. We have instituted a continuous business process optimization, where we drive productivity and drive out costs out of our business processes. We have leveraged our data warehouse, which we started a few years ago, and saw and recognized some of the absolute benefits that it delivered. We have become a data-driven organization with KPIs measuring our health. And we are now in the process of leveraging AI. We've just started that in this fiscal year, leveraging AI to boost our productivity in the business. So what we did is rooted in our business strategic plan. The strategic plan includes a circle of success, as you see on the left-hand side of the slide. And there are key tenets within that circle of success: innovation, reputation, financial stability, workforce enhancement, and the advancement of field and effective outcomes. So all of those tenets that we use, we've developed some strategies to basically focus on to help the business evolve. And so again, we're in level 3 right now. We're evolving to level 4, and in order to accomplish this transition, we did finally bring back some technology resources, specifically myself, CIO. We have a director, and we also have business analysts. And what we're doing is we are focusing and leveraging Synoptek's offshore software delivery capabilities. We're leveraging those capabilities to drive our business process improvements and automation. So that's very quick, I know, but I hope you get an idea that we transformed ourselves over the last few years. It took a number of years to stabilize. We are mature enough now to go to the next stage. I'll turn it over to Todd.
Thank you, Norman, for those insights and real-world perspective. It's clear that transforming IT into a strategic partner isn't just possible, it's actually happening. So thank you for that. Now let's shift gears and bring the conversation back. I'll walk us through the next session where we'll explore how we apply these principles within our own organization and take actionable steps forward. So we'll get right started here. So the model that Norman had expressed and talked through in his presentation is right here, right? And so basically, how do you understand the current state of your IT and your readiness to support the rising complexity and pressures? The IT maturity model helps organizations move from reactive, inefficient operations to more strategic, value-driving IT capabilities. You'll see in the band below, the bottom band, it basically has a ranking there of basic, standardized, rationalized, and dynamic. And so a good starting point for understanding where your organization stands on the spectrum of IT maturity is to evaluate your core IT metrics. Best practice organizations, typically measuring IT spend as a percent of revenue, OpEx, CapEx, variance and ratios, service levels, ROI, digital initiatives, customer satisfaction metrics. All these are all the standards, right? So is your IT organization measuring these key metrics today? If you are, that's, where does your organization stand? If you're not, that may be in itself a sign of your maturity. So as you look through here, you'll notice that Norman had talked through the level 0, maybe a generous level 1. And so what we typically find in the maturity and people and process and technology and then strategy, when companies and organizations approach us as a managed services provider, they're usually hovering around in that 0. They might have attributes of 1 or 2. They might have some process, things like that, some formal policies, but it's not rationalized, right? And so, once they do sign on with Synoptek, we're able to enter them into onboarding, which we are ITIL based, and by the time that they are exiting onboarding, 45 to 90 days, they become immediately level 2. That's pretty much how it works. Just the benefits and that they reap from leveraging us, right? So, take a look at this for your own organization. Kind of say, yeah, we got this, we got that. Obviously, level 4 is a wonderful place to be, but not everyone can be there, right? It takes a long time. It's not something that happens overnight. And then at the bottom, you'll see kind of like the ratios of your CapEx, the digital investment ROIs, things like that, where I give some ratios, and you guys will get this presentation so you can reference these numbers in at your own leisure and time. But that is the IT maturity model that basically helps you move from a basic organization to a business enabler, right? A strategic asset. Okay, so certainly, here's an expanded, more detailed version of what I think about, and I'll expand on this. This is where Synoptek enters the picture as a trusted partner. We specialize in bridging the gap between IT and business needs by providing a comprehensive approach to both technology strategy, technology management. Our mission is to help you elevate your organization's maturity, empowering you to build resilient, scalable foundation that supports transformation and aligns seamlessly with overarching business goals. As Synoptek, we recognize that technology is not just a tool, it's a critical enabler of growth, innovation, and competitive advantage. That's why we don't just stop at kind of managing your infrastructure, blocking and tackling, things like that. We go a step further with advisory and consulting, and that's my role here at Synoptek. And it guides you towards a transformation of outcome faster and more effectively. Our team works closely with you to ensure every initiative, whether it's modernizing systems, optimizing your processes, implementing security frameworks, new technology, or just measuring your results. That drives real, tangible value. By aligning IT initiatives with your long-term goals, we help you ensure sustained success, enabling the organization to adapt to the ever-changing market and demands, and thrive towards the new, the face of the new challenges, right? So Synoptek is your trusted technology partner to bridge that digital divide. All right. And so Sycamore's success story did highlight how uncovering opportunities for IT cost savings can drive meaningful transformation. So based on what you heard today from Norman on their journey, would you be interested in scheduling a personalized one-to-one strategic session to identify ways that we can help optimize IT expenses, align your technology with your business objectives? We're going to launch another poll question here, and to give you an opportunity. And also, as we share this, you can find the registration as well. Basically, this is going to, have your own interaction and compare yourselves to your goals. All right. So I appreciate the interaction and engagement. I appreciate that. And, the complimentary session, is a customized benchmark report and actionable insights, gives you a lot of things to think about, let's say. All right. So now we're at a critical point here. Any questions? This is where your engagement is very important. We'd like to open the floor for the questions. We've covered a range of important topics today, obviously. Feel free to submit your questions via the chat. We'll do our best to address as many as time allows. And obviously, we'd like to have your engagement. So I'll wait patiently here for some questions. All right. So we do have one. How can moving from CapEx to OpEx models reduce financial risk? That's a great question. moving from CapEx to OpEx shifts large upfront investments to a predictable, scalable expense. It enhances like flexibility and spend based on demand. It's kind of easier to course correct as well. In addition, moving from CapEx to OpEx, reduces your asset ownership, risk and depreciation costs, et cetera. Basically the overall shift improves your cash flow, and definitely your budgeting accuracy, in my opinion. Thank you for that question. That was good. Oh, there's a good one. Okay, we talked about metrics. What metrics matter the most to track your productivity that you're gaining from your IT changes? Oh, that's a excellent question. Thank you for that. Um, well, I guess to provide a short list, these are what matter, right? So time saved per task or process, employee satisfaction and adoption of what you're doing, those rates improve. Another metric would be like Norman tracked output per employee, tickets resolved, sales closed, opportunities closed, clients served, things like that. Reduction in manual work and error rates to me are probably the most important, right? So you get a lot of value from making people more efficient, having them back to work, and not stalled by outages and inefficient systems. So I'd say those metrics really can provide you some insight on how successful you truly are. All right, looking for the next question. There are some in here, and I am picking and choosing, so but we'll get to them if we can. All right. How do we ensure our investments, are improving, but not overextend the budget, right? So that's another great question. So you kind of need to focus on the ROI and the business impact early. And if you're not seeing it, then fail fast, right? So it didn't work, something happened there. Organization, you kind of got to need like to prioritize the scalable solutions that are like well defined, right? You can use like an agile delivery model to test and iterate. I think that's helpful. You can leverage cloud and SaaS to avoid overcommitment. The levers can be pulled back and/or increased without penalty in most cases when you're leveraging, that kind of cost model, right? So I think that's an agile way of approaching it. Okay. Let's see. Uh, so what's a great indicator? Is the question. IT shifting from cost center to value driver. What's an indicator? Well, you're seeing increased alignment with your business strategy for one, right? Another is having an IT-led, innovation, driving revenue, digital products, automation, all those kind of things. And then a true indicator, like I said, we're going to measure metrics and KPIs, have them tied to the business outcomes so you can report of them, right? Whether it be customer experience, speed to market, things like that are key in my, if you have the KPIs set aside and the metrics to track, that's the indicator showing that you're successful. Another, I'd say, and Norman, you probably agree with this. Another visible indicator is when the CIO is now participating in the strategic planning throughout the organization, right? So the shadow IT things, folks are bringing in IT to help them plan.
Yeah, I was going to you echo that. I was going to say that the day technology is part of the strategic planning from the ground, you have made it. That's a really good indicator that you've arrived at becoming a strategic business partner.
That's exactly where I was headed. Let's see. Okay. This is a good one. What IT strategies free up cash, quickly? That's a good, if I was a CFO, I'd ask that same question. So the organization, you have to go through an exercise to rationalize it. Consolidate your legacy systems would be a priority. focusing on eliminating tech debt. A lot of organizations have, either legacy applications or data centers laying around that really have 5 servers running in them, even though they're costing X amount a month. One of the first work streams I would do would be shift workloads to cloud and just reduce the overall infrastructure costs. That's an easy one. And then, you can perform efforts to like automate repetitive task, to reduce your labor costs. There's a lot of robotic process automation that can happen to free up employees' time, and have them, ideally, I always say this, free up employees to think and act more strategically rather than performing the mundane, repeatable tasks, right? If you can automate that, you're going to save yourself a lot of labor hours for sure, and you'll get more effectiveness out of your labor return. I would say,
and
go ahead,
if I can add
Norman.
two, I'll add 2 items to that. Depending on the size of your organization. If you're a small organization, and in terms of IT staff, you're not going to be able to cut costs super quickly. But if you are a larger organization, 10 to 20 plus IT folks, if you look at a slide that we had, and you'll review it later on, it resulted in about $1.5 million of savings for us, which was a big number overall. By as Todd had said, by taking advantage of skilled resources on a partial FTE basis. So I have a cloud expert that I have, 4 hours a month. I have a security, a CISO at 8 hours a month. These are not full-time employees, but I need them. So you end up saving a lot of money that way. And then on the other side, as you bring in business analysts and start analyzing your business processes, you're going to easily and quickly identify opportunities to optimize and bring in technology to help drive up productivity. So that's not immediate, but it can be done within 12 months to 18 months. So those are the 2 areas. If you want to quickly recognize savings, those are the 2 areas.
Excellent points, Norman. Yeah, and to reiterate the partial of an FTE, right? So to employ, a full-time Cisco or Fortinet network engineer, architect to make sure that your connectivity and applications are up and running is expensive, right? But you really only need them 6 hours a month, right? So that's where, Synoptek, managed services providers really do make a difference, because you don't need that full-time burden employee. You can leverage just a slice. I always call it a slice of a smart guy, right? And one other thing I was thinking about for quick, like if you work internally with the business, to just renegotiate some of your other vendor contracts, or maybe have them move to a consumption-based pricing to only pay for what you need, right? That sounds like an insurance commercial. But another example of strategy is to kind of like adopt a low no-code platform to accelerate delivery, right? Where, that's like SaaS applications, software as a service, come into play, rather than maintaining a homegrown, application stack that's very labor intensive and maintenance prone, right? So I'd say that's some strategies to free up cash quickly and still supporting growth, right? I think that's an excellent way of doing that. So I don't see any additional questions. I guess, oh, there is one here. Sorry. At this point, I kind of want to open the floor again. So let me just go through and make sure I'm not repeating. A lot of them are very similar to what we had already answered. I think we got them all covered. So I think we're in good shape. I will present the Synoptek overview and let you take a view of this, but I thank you for all your time and thoughtful questions. We hope this discussion has provided valuable insights on how optimizing IT strategy and management can drive meaningful outcomes for your organization. Remember, we're here to help navigate those challenges, uncover opportunities, help you align with your business goals. If you'd like to take that next step, don't hesitate to reach out, schedule a personalized consultation, or ask any follow-up questions. Together, we can create that roadmap to help you achieve the measurable impact and growth that you're looking for. Thank you again, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. We appreciate you. Thank you.